computer magic going on here. I am still at home, but behind me you can see the altar area of the Bernalillo United Methodist Church, our familiar place of worship. I thought you might like to see again this morning as I share this message. One of the parables that Jesus told his disciples concerned 10 young maidens waiting for a wedding procession to begin. It helps to understand that a wedding in ancient Israel was often a great celebration, something which took place over the course of many days. To be invited then, as now, was an honor. To be asked, as these young maidens were, to take part in the wedding processional was an even greater honor. They were chosen to lead the procession, to lead the way for the groom and his bride. The evening before the wedding, the groom would go to the home of the bride's parents and escort his bride to their new home. These young maidens had been selected to carry the oil lamps, which were clay jars filled with oil and set on stakes like torches. In this way, they would light the way for the groom and the bride and for all the invited guests to gather. And so as the day turned to dusk, they gathered together and waited for the groom to arrive. The hour passed and night fell. Their torches burned, but still the groom did not arrive. Waiting is hard. They were right where they needed to be, but nothing was happening. So they grew tired and fell asleep. At midnight, they were startled awake by someone crying out, "Here is the bridegroom, come out and meet him." Quickly they leaped up, only to discover that while they slept, their lamps had grown dim and begun to stutter. 5 of the young maidens had been wise enough to bring with them some extra oil. Quickly they trimmed their lamps. Once upon a time, being a lamp trimmer was an honored profession. It required both experience and skill. As someone once wrote, a poorly trimmed wick creates a flame which is dim and smoky. A properly trimmed wick should come to a rounded point, should be wedge-shaped. When lit, the wick should burn cleanly all the way up to the highest flame it can make. The flame should be at least the width of the wick and even, not ragged. The skilled part of being a lamp trimmer was the ability to trim a wick in such a way that it would burn evenly without hot spots, so that it would not need attention again for some time. And of course, it was also the job of the lamp trimmer to make sure there was always enough oil in the lamp as well. Therein lay the problem. The delay in the arrival of the bridegroom had been so long that the oil had begun to run out. 5 of these young maidens had been wise enough to bring extra oil with them, just in case. They were prepared. 5 of them had not. "Please, give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out," they begged them. "No," the others replied, "there may not be enough oil for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." It was not selfish on the part of the wise young maidens not to share. They were simply focused on their task. Their torches were needed to light the way. If all of the torches ran out of oil before they reached their destination, then the task could not be completed. That would bring disgrace upon the bridegroom and upon them all. All 5 who were unprepared needed to find another source of oil somewhere else. They tried, but they probably failed, and by the time they got back, the bridal processional was over. Those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut, so we are told. Too late they came knocking at the door, saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he answered, "Most certainly, I tell you, I don't know you." Like all the parables of Jesus, this one was trying to convey a message to his disciples. And Jesus himself summed up that message as, "Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." From that, and from the context in general, many have assumed that the message here is eschatological, meaning that it has to do with death, judgment, and the final destiny of the soul and of humankind. Therefore, we are to be vigilant and live in eager anticipation of the Lord's coming. So goes the interpretation. Such an interpretation doesn't quite fit, however. And I've often wondered if there might be a better way for us to understand this parable. For one thing, this parable reads like some of the wisdom lessons found in the book of Proverbs. The wise inherit honor, but fools get only shame. So we read there. The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. In the same way, Jesus defined here what is wise and what is foolish. 5 of the young maidens were wise because they had prepared well. And when the time came for their light to shine, they could do so. 5 of them were foolish because they had not prepared well. They hoped to borrow what they needed from others when that time came, but that was not possible. The reason that the bridegroom did not let them in was probably because he couldn't see them in the dark. To their shame, they found themselves outside and their light was extinguished. I think that the lesson to be drawn from this is that we all need to trim our wick and fuel our lamp so that when the time comes, we can shine brightly. That is not a lesson for the end times. It is a lesson meant for today. An athlete prepares their body for the race. A scholar prepares their mind for the test of their knowledge. Likewise, a child of God must prepare their soul for the moment when they will be tested by life. How do we do that? I think it's practice that makes perfect. Each day is an opportunity for us to practice our faith. The simple rule for life is to do no wrong and instead do all the good you can. By practicing such a life, we can grow in grace and truth until finally choosing to do what is right becomes the only choice. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo became well known a long time ago for what it was called the Stanford Prison Experiment. Participants took on the roles of guards and prisoners in a mock prison setting. Although the experiment was intended to last 2 weeks, he chose to stop it after only 6 days. It took only 6 days for the so-called guards to become domineering and abusive, and the designated prisoners to become distraught and depressed. He had found out the way to bring out the worst in people and to kill hope. Today, he is the founder of the Heroic Imagination Project, teaching children how to become heroes. No superpower is required. His students learn about the darker side of human nature, the prevalence and impact of prejudice, social roles and expectations, and what is called the bystander effect, which makes us less likely to offer assistance if someone else is present. And then he teaches them empathy, so they are less likely to blame the victim, more likely to take action. They learn stories of real-life heroes, and then students are asked to start putting what they have learned during the program to work in the real world. Like any skill, Zimbardo believes that heroism takes practice. Participants in the program start small by doing one thing each day to help another person feel better. The goal is that these baby steps will serve as a stepping stone toward a lifetime of helping behaviors. It is the same for us in the church, although we have different tools. We train our souls for life by attending upon all the means of grace, prayer, Bible study, Christian fellowship, and communion. We measure our progress by looking to the example of Jesus Christ, our Savior. The small choices we make every day, practicing our faith with acts of kindness and generosity, forgiveness and encouragement, prepare us for larger choices that we may need to make later. By consciously choosing each day to think about those things that are true and noble, bright, pure, lovely, and admirable. We refuel our souls and trim our wick so that our light can shine brightly whenever and wherever it is needed. Then, when the hour is late and the world is dark, we will be ready to do the right thing at the moment when it matters most. We truly do not know the day or the hour when that will happen, let alone when the world is going to end. But as the book of Proverbs also says, in the way of righteousness there is life. Along that path is immortality. Therefore, every day we should seek the Lord while he may be found, attend upon the means of grace, and practice, practice, practice. Today, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Then every day you will be ready, come what may. Be safe, and God bless you.